Closing remarks.
Closing remarks.
Thank
so
you.
Use your closing remarks, yes.
CS, I have a message for you. Because you've been my friend for many, I think 35 years. I have high regard for you. You notice I've never had issues with you. Please tell the president this is a bad deal. He can reconfigure it. He can get a better company which has got respect, which is respected globally. If he can't get Emirates or Qatari, he can get Etihad. We understand that they are bilaterals. We understand, I worked in foreign affairs. We know that there are certain arrangements and agreements the president can sign to benefit the country. Please tell him this thing is a stinker. Let's do it within the law. Kenyans are really upset with what is going on right now. And please, whatever you saw happening at that airport, don't take it for granted. Those people are very, very upset. Their lives are in jeopardy. You're talking about 5,000, 6,000 people. Nobody knows what this agreement is. Simplify it. Bring it to this committee. Give them a program. Tell them, look at this agreement. This is what we are looking at. Who would say no? If you come and tell me, like Rwanda, we have resuscitated KQ with 50 or 60 aeroplanes. We have paid the debt that KQ has. You are going to pay our workers who are destitute in that airline, and you are setting up Nairobi to be a hub. Which airline are you going to use to build the numbers that you want? We don't have an airline. You haven't solved the KQ problem. I beg you that this is a matter that Kenyans have taken very seriously. And thank you, sir, for listening to us.
Thank you very much. Let me have Senator Sifuna as a member
Thank
of
you,
the
Chair.
committee. Yes.
In closing, Honorable CS CHIRCHIR, I'm sure by now you know that the problem with the government in which you serve is not a communication problem. It is a credibility problem. Nobody trusts this government. And even with your best intentions, you have to work to restore the credibility of the government and public trust in the government that you serve in. Number two, if you can see, the reason why there's a trust deficit is not an accident. Your own minutes from KA, as we have been taken through here, have identified the fact that there are many competing interests, and they have to be vendor-driven interests within government. So Kenyans have every right, Honorable Chair, to be suspicious of this deal. Thirdly, Honorable CS, let me disabuse you of this notion that there are stakeholders in JKIA or in our airports distinct from the people of Kenya. The stakeholders in JKIA are the 55 million of us. You cannot have a small meeting somewhere in a corner, then claim that you have had conversations with stakeholders. Stakeholders in this particular case are the 55 million Kenyans. And the fact that there was lack of disclosure, and I think the committee will be making a recommendation that we make an amendment to the law on PPP. Immediately somebody arrives at your office, Honorable CS, with a so-called privately initiated proposal. Within 48 hours, you must disclose that that email has come to your email account. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to move forward with this. There are serious integrity concerns with the company itself, and of course, with the government that is proposing to go ahead with this particular project. Honorable CS, you know what happened to the finance bill. You know the sort of furor that it brought about. I can compare the objections to the Adani deal to that where we were with the finance bill. At this particular moment in time, even with your best efforts, and I know you are a very, what is the word? Yes, you are somebody who puts in effort. But I can assure you, CS, it doesn't matter how you explain this deal, the people's mind is made up on Adani. Please, abandon this deal. We will lose nothing. Go back to the position that had been taken by Cabinet, as expressed by the then Transport CS Murkomen when he appeared before the Senate, that we will put out an international expression of interests. Let this process be above board. In the development and upgrade of JKIA, this PIP model is not going to be available for the government of Kenya. Put it out there in the public. Let people apply. Let the process be open. Let everybody see what proposals are coming from where. I do not agree that there are not many people who want to invest in this country. The reason why people are afraid to invest in this is because of these games and shenanigans that we are playing within our own governments and systems. We are the hosts of JKIA, all of us are stakeholders, but the people of Nairobi have told me to say no to this deal. Therefore, I want to urge you very strongly, cancel this thing. You will not, even with your best efforts, be able to convince anyone in Kenya today that this is a deal that is above board. Let us go back to public procurement when it comes to this particular deal. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Sifuna. Senator Ledamo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My friend, C.S. Davis CHIRCHIR, you should be in the front line rejecting this deal. Even if it has some deal makers over a barrel, being forced to do things whether they like it or not. We live in Kenya, and Kenya is a country where people are given incentives to be able to champion certain things which, even if they know they are not good, and that's what I mean being over a barrel. We have screwed up our constitution. We have messed up our legislations. We amended the Public Finance Act and made it easy for brokers to be able to come in and lobby for certain projects. This deal stinks. I want to plead with you to abandon it. If you look at the proposed capex investments, it goes in stages, We're a country, we're an industrious nation. I suppose we can definitely raise $99 million to be able to put up a runway. We can be able to raise $624 million to be able to put up a terminal. And if there's any airstrip for $92 million, we can actually be able to do that. I know right now, I've just received a text message from a very good friend, an international deal maker. And he said, Adani is pissed off. And his message to me was like, Senator, be careful, Adani is pissed off. We do not want to be held hostage. This is a country that we fight so hard for. This is a country that we expect to leave it for the future generation. And I plead with you, as someone who I know is forthright, if Kenyans don't like it, leave it. Let's leave it. You know, O.J. Simpson, the lawyer in O.J. Simpson trial once said, if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. So in this case, Kenyans all over have said, we do not give a hoot in hell about this deal. Leave it. Leave it. I know for a fact that when people get into government, they line their pockets. If you consider their wealth this year and next year, you will know that it is because of incentive. That's why their wealth has grown. This is a country that has got all instruments, and it's got all the apparatus to be able to carry out that serious due diligence. The Gen Zs have sent a very strong message. We don't want June 25th to be able to revisit us again. We have to learn, and that is the reason why, even if I'm not a member of this committee, I was in this committee today. Because this deal stinks like hell. So I request you to abandon it. Let us go gradually, slowly by slowly. If once we do, analysis, and we look at our hierarchy of needs, we see that what we really require right now is what do you call it? Not an airport, but a runway. I'm pretty sure, even if we cannot afford, and even if we are not magnanimous enough to give money, we can offer an structural bond, and people will gladly invest in it. So, Mr. Chairman, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Ledama. Vice Chair.
I'm here. I would like to. I'm here.
Let's have the Vice Chair.
The Chair would speak after me.
As you go.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's okay.
It's fine.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you, Chair. Chair, let me say, just like the rest of my colleagues, that the verdict of Kenyans on the Adani deal is that there is no deal and there should be no deal. And we are privileged to be here, Mr. CS, to deliver the message to you according to the wishes of Kenyans. It will be incumbent upon you to either respond in the affirmative or otherwise, but choices have consequences. Thank you.
Senator Omtata.
Yes, Honorable CJ. Yes. So, I'll take you to Section 40, Clause 3, and I would ask the committee that before you retreat to write your report, the Cabinet Secretary should comply with the Section 40, Clause 3, Paragraph J, and produce justification why this project is not suitable for open competitive procurement. Cabinet Secretary, please provide that justification which the law requires as a precondition for going into a PPP. Honorable CS, I also refer to at Section 40, Clause 1 of the Act. It requires you to establish an evaluation criteria for the proposal. I would also request that this committee be served with the evaluation criteria which was established to deal with this proposal. I'll also go to take you back to Section 4, which you quoted as a justification for not complying with the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. That section is very clear that that act applies if there is counterpart funding. And I would ask that you clarify to the committee if the government of Kenya is providing any funding, and what is the status of the government of Kenya entering into direct and substitution agreements with the lenders. I would also persuade of listening to the CS, his argument is that the end justifies the means. And I would like to tell the CS that in Kenya, the end does not justify the means. There's due process, there's rule of law. You must pursue them because even the Auditor General, under Article 229, Clause 6, audits government entities for lawfulness first, then effectiveness second. So as for the reference you keep on making, there was a desktop evaluation. The law does not require superficial evaluation. And there's no provision in the law for evaluation twice. The evaluation is done once, it is thorough and complete. So I would request that the committee be supplied with that evaluation report. These things of reference to the desktop and whatever is nowhere in the law. If it was an evaluation, it's an evaluation that was well done, that's comprehensive and complete. Let us have that evaluation report supplied to the committee. And then finally, as regards to your continuous plea to necessity, it is necessary, it is necessary. I want to give you a quote of what was said on the floor of the House of Commons some 300 years ago by William Pitt the Younger, who was a Prime Minister of Britain twice. He said, necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedom. It is the argument of tyrants. It is the creed of slaves. In Kenya, we have a democratic government. We don't allow tyrants. And we are citizens. We are not slaves. So please observe the law. There's no option for this government but to observe the law. And what you have presented before us is an attempt to overthrow the lawful dispensation of this country. You are going against the Constitution. You are going against the laws of this country. And even your 20 points that you are giving here in your return is cherry picking. You have chosen those parts that in the law that seem to justify what you have done and given them as 20 steps. I would urge this committee to reject these 20 steps as being a corruption of the law and an attempt to mislead this committee, and demand that the minister complies 100% with the law. And finally, Chairman, I pray that the committee summons the CS for Finance, who is the custodian of this act, so that we can give him appropriate questions. I'm not a member of this committee, but given the enormity of the issue that was before this committee, I've left everything that I was doing to be able to be here. And I would love to meet the Minister for Finance, because I've got issues with the way these things have done, and I'm very, very clear in my mind that CS for Transport does not have the standing or the capacity to answer those questions lawfully so that they can go on record lawfully. He's a stranger to the exercise. I fully appreciate the decision of the committee to apply to invite him as maybe in charge of transport, but he is not the custodian of the PPP Act. We would like the custodian of the PPP Act to appear before this committee so that we can give him the heavy lifting we want to do with him as regards the Adani scam. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I think before I make my closing remarks, we have Senator CHIRCHIR.
Thank you, Chair. Mine, CS use this platform. In my opening remarks, I said there is a viral young man who is viral in Facebook saying, airport imeuzwa kwa muhindi. Can you just, the takeoff has encountered turbulence, just about the takeoff, Bwana CS, by ensuring that end these negotiations. This thing is becoming ugly, it's becoming chaotic. Just tell the country that there is no deal, there is no negotiations, and we are not objecting the building of new airport or improvement of other airports and airstrips across the country. Finally, Chair, the information I have, in fact, the United States of America government is in confidence that if Adani does the takeover of JKIA, we might lose even our flights direct to New York, Chair, that is normally scheduled per week, and this will hinder our standing among the international communities. So, as you go back, Bwana CS, you are not there. This is not your baby. This looks like, and it is corruption that it needs to be stopped. Allow Adani to do other airports in other parts. He's not the only one in the world that he can do that, Chair. Let us get a new investor, and we are not objecting to the airport being constructed. Let it come clear from this meeting. We want a new airport, but we want the due process of the law to be followed, Chair. It is as simple, and value for money, lawfulness and effectiveness, Bwana CS. And even as Kenyans today, I quoted Abraham Lincoln. He says the government is for the people and by the people. Give Kenyans what they want. Just use this platform, courtesy of the Chair, call off the deal. Let's go back, Chair, because if they say, in conclusion, Chair, if it looks like a duck and sounds like a duck and quacks like a duck, it could be a real ugly swan of corruption. Let the Adani be called off. This deal call off today. Let's begin from a fresh slate. Because Kenyans, even from Nandi County, where I come from, they don't want this deal. Not because we have an airport next to us, but because it is the national strategic security infrastructure, and we cannot risk. Chair, with those many remarks, I thank you, and I hope when the CS of National Treasury will appear, and the DG, in fact, Chair, under Powers and Privileges Act, as you rule on the DG of PPP, he should be summoned and fined and frog-marched by Inspector General of Police to appear before this committee. Because this is the contempt of your committee. This committee has quasi-judicial mechanisms of the High Court. We for having us who are friends of the committee and giving us, Chair, some of us, if we don't speak to some of these issues, we cannot sleep because Kenyans keep calling us throughout the night. but si ile kuzalamiwa Gen Z, but in good faith, they really want to know. Waziri, and as you go back, please in future, if you have such enormity infrastructure project, kindly give us information early enough, so that we don't deal with disinformation, misinformation, and fake news in some of these issues. We wish you well, and we hope you will do better than the former incompetent colleague, because alikuwa anapenda mchezo, tukapeleka yeye kwa mchezo. Asante sana. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator CHIRCHIR. Bwana Waziri, you have heard from the members. Members of this committee, friends of this committee, but all members of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Mine, as I conclude, so that I can give you a minute so that you can also give your commitment, is to tell you that we didn't have to get where we are. If probably there was no whistleblower, maybe we'll be discussing something different. So, and it has been said here in this committee, make sure the young boy is protected, and make sure that no one is doing any harm to the young man who whistleblew this one. And Bwana CS, what has come out here, if there was proper communication, and I repeat that again and again, we wouldn't be here. Kenyans would be with you, because no Kenyan is against the PPP. No Kenyan is against the BOT. No Kenyan is against any investor in this country. The problem is not the deal. The problem is the wheeler dealers, as I had said earlier. So, Bwana Waziri, carry the people with you in these processes, because we are a country that is led by the rule of law. Carry the people with you. When they say stop, you stop. Because if you run, you will find them at the finishing line. So, as we retreat as the committee to write a report, there are things that we will be internalizing. We will require more documentation. We will even require more input from the people. Because as it has been said in section 43J, that there must be a justification why we cannot do this deal competitively. We will be looking into issues like, do we resolve as the committee or the Senate that you re-advertise and invite other proposals? That is something that we'll be pondering. Will we say no Adani in this country? Those are things as a Senate we'll be looking into. Will we even decide if the deal is there? Because you said, Bwana Waziri, in your submission on question 1, no concession agreement exists. And you also said, if we were to close this deal, not close, if we were to do away with this deal, Kenya will not lose any money. All right? At least we are happy to hear that. So probably, as we go along in retiring and writing this report, we'll be looking at that issue. Also, Bwana CS, on step 17, that is when the concession agreement is signed and a copy sent to the AG for his records. We'll also be looking into that issue in the sense that whether we get to that, because you never know, I just don't want to anticipate. We might get there, we don't know, but whether we will be requesting before the signing is done, that document is made public. So I believe that those are some of the issues that we'll be looking into. We'll also been requested to summon the CS Treasury. I would want to see him and to appear before this committee. So those are some of the things we are going to be looking into, and especially the DG Directorate of PPPs. So having said that, let's all remind ourselves that we are working for the people of Kenya. It's going to go down in history that I was the chairman when the Adani deal went through. Would I want that? You will be the CS, you know, will be down in history, the PS, and also the DG, KAA, the CEO KAA, and the Senate of today. So I believe we are doing this for the betterment or for the sake of our country. So, and I also ask people, we should not just rush to be the fake news peddlers, as well as the disinformation agents. Let's all of us work together to understand what is this thing for our country. Then from there, we move together as a team. So thank you very much, Bwana CS, for coming. It's now, what time is it now? Because it's almost 2. It's almost 2 p.m. and you came here at 9 a.m. You were here yesterday. You committed yourself to be here. And I want to join other senators. Nobody has lost hope with you, Bwana CS. Everybody is actually saying they see you, they think of you, they want you. So please, in your dealings with this deal, do not at any time disappoint Kenyans. So we give you 1 minute or 2 to also give your commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for guiding. I want to confirm, like Nairobi Senator is not in, did say, we probably have a communication, maybe a credibility problem, and we do not want to get international investors digging down into the credibility of the country where we start a process and we drop it halfway. We will allow us, like you have guided, to follow the law, to be available to Parliament, to basically carry everybody along. Like I did indicate earlier, we've given these documents to the Union because the way PPP has not been employed to procure the small procurements that government affords every day, it is not a very usual procurement that succeeds. And we are all frustrated with the PPP Act in that nothing almost seems to go through the PPP process. And therefore, that is why we are not able to implement the big infrastructural projects which government cannot afford. So as to whether we need to relook at the PPP Act to make it work the way the PPD, the Public Procurement and Disposal Act works, is something that we need to look at. As regarding the concern of public participation, you do know, honorable members, that we've come to the House to seek all of us to redefine the scope of public participation, because you also don't want, when you pass a bill into law, Finance Act 2023, you are told you didn't do enough public participation. What is enough public participation? Because it's a democratic space, and whereas 40 million Kenyans could say we think we are happy, and 10 million says we didn't, it becomes a challenge to be able to move the country forward. And we'll appreciate if that public participation bill within the House, which is currently the House, could be expedited, so that even when we say, you can see one member say, when you receive a PPP, give it to us within 48 hours. We gave it out within 30 days, and it is seen like it was rushed. And therefore, it is really important to define some of these processes and see, particularly at this stage in time, how PPP can work for us as an anchor state, so that we do have an infrastructure that can support the region. I have heard the members. We will follow the law. We will observe the law. We will do the right thing by ensuring that if you submit the kind of representations that we have seen here today, and it helps us to have an exit, or to have better understanding for Kenyans as to the need to build a new airport, then we will make the right decision. The due process is such that Senate can oversight at any time, and you can call us at any time, and like you called us and called us again today, we'll provide the information. But members, let us make decision based on information. We've submitted the information today. I personally believe you need to further internalize with that information. Request for more information, we'll submit. Give us information as you receive from the public that can help all of us to make the right decision. And I want to assure you, like has been canvassed here, we will do the right thing. We will follow the law, and we will submit to the directions of Parliament. But let us really not be that country who get investors down midway and say, Kenyans say, we don't like you. Let's really, because we are doing the due diligence and all the challenges and the fact that the process is not being employed, like I've said severally, to the understanding of Kenyans, provide that information to help us to make the right decision. I thank you, Chairman, and I think you are well guided. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this brings us to the end of this session, but it's good to clarify that we had invited the, I'm missing his name every other minute, Christopher. Yeah, that is Christopher Kiregwa, who is the DG PPPs. And you know, we cannot wait for too long before giving this report. So having that in mind, he should appear before the committee the next sitting session, which is on Tuesday. Because for him, he has been invited before, so we do not have to give him the 7 days grace period that we give when we're inviting people. So for him, just to appear before this committee and meet this committee and answer a few questions. Then after that, we'll make a decision on when to invite the CS Treasury together with the PS Treasury. So members, any other business? So there being no other business, this sitting stands adjourned until Tuesday, 17th at 11 a.m. Thank you very much.